Hello everyone. So I'm actually gonna try to chat and do this video while I'm working on a doll or two. So we'll see how that goes. That way you're not just staring at me as I talk about this topic. And I will be using my phone, my actual phone for reference for this topic because I did ask on my Instagram question what people thought about this topic, what did they first think of when I posted this word or this phrase for today's video. So I wanted to get some actual live feedback from people. I'd love to do that because it helps have different opinions other than my own. So I find that very useful. So I'll be trying to work on the painted hairline for this is Damie. It's an older kit, super duper cute. Not the best lighting on this video, but what a cute kit. He slash she will be available hopefully by the end of the weekend. I still have to root this big old head. It's a 3 to 6, really 6 month size baby. I just loved this kit and I thought it was so cute, and I didn't see really any versions of it from recent people making it. So I was like, all right, well, that's the cutest little face. Um, I do have another doll that's already available. I'm not exactly thrilled with how the dolls turned out. It's going to be, where is it? This kit sometimes is like hit or miss, and I was hoping it would come out a little different, but this is who I have currently available on reborns.com. This is Wendy. So Wendy is available. It's he's got that really newborn expression. So if you're interested in that kind of expression, I think he's kind of cute, but you know, he's got a very unique face, and I try to typically stay away from painting unique faces, but I don't know. I like Wendy's expression, but I kind of wanted a different skin tone, but still a nice light biracial, I would say, skin tone, and the hair is really cute. So he's been laying down, so it's hit back if his hair looks crazy, but. So yeah, I have Wendy completely ready to ship. Damie hopefully Monday will be available. And then I'm going to also be working on. I said I was going to start it last weekend. I have a Ruby that I got my hands on. It was a McPherson's because Ruby is now sold out, I believe, everywhere. But Ruby was the Boo Boo kit that I found on McPherson's. If you don't know, you keep on the loop and pay attention to McPherson's website. But they list their boo boo kits, and they're not actually really boo boo kits. Like this Ruby has a few small flecks on the limbs, but other than that, it's literally perfect. And I plan on doing a darker skin tone anyway, so you will not even see that. So I'm always really very pleased with McPherson's and their boo boo kits. Plus, you can't, for me, in the eastern part of the US, you can't really beat how quick their shipping is. I literally have their packages come to me in less than 24 hours after I order it. So, because I'm still on this, they're in Canada, but they're also on the East Coast, and they do expedite it. So, I love shopping McPherson's for my kits when I can. But anyway, so today's topic, as the title says, is going to be about nepotism in the Reborn community. And I brought up the definition of nepotism because a lot of people actually don't know what the term means. And I wanted to give the actual, when you look up from the dictionary, the Oxford Dictionary, I wanted to actually give the definition for you guys, for you to kind of get a glimpse of what I will be talking about when I'm referring to nepotism and how that concept applies to the Reborn world. Because unfortunately, hear me, I know me controversial opinions, right? Unfortunately, that we have this kind of concept that applies more often than you would think. And as soon as I posted it, I got lots of good feedback or interesting comments because people are thinking about these things. They may not be saying things about it, but I think when I get into the details, everyone has noticed this. If you're paying attention in the Reborn world, you've noticed the things I'm going to talk about in this video, and it's really unfortunate. But no one, a lot of people don't want to speak up about it because they're afraid of. I don't know what they're afraid of, but y'all know I'm not afraid to talk about like controversial things ever, and that's kind of like part of my downfall probably in the Reborn world. Why certain people don't appreciate my attitude with the Reborn world, but the place I'm coming from is always we can do better. If we're going to be a community, we need to be able to hold ourselves accountable. And like that's part of why I did not go to the doll show that was just in last weekend. That's part of why I didn't want to go, because so many of the people going to that show I don't like, or you know it's not worth me spending my money to get a hotel, to be around just a few of my friends, and then a bunch of people that I either fundamentally disagree with, don't like, don't appreciate, they're racist. I mean, there's so many reasons why I have quote unquote beef with some people in the Reborn world, and I knew a bunch of them were going to be there, and I just didn't want to be around that kind of vibe. So maybe I'll go at a different year to a different show. I don't know. I just didn't feel like going this year ultimately. It would have been nice to meet one of my friends who came down from Canada, but would have been, she would have been like the main reason, or that I would have went. But I decided, I was like, nah, I'm good. But so nepotism. That was a long and short way to say that I'm not afraid to talk about this particular topic, because I already have that reputation, if you will, that I will point out things that maybe we don't want to pay attention to. And so, nepotism, by definition, I'm going to read it, is the practice amongst those with power or influence of favoring relatives, friends, or associates, especially by giving them jobs. So you may already kind of be able to tell where I'm going with this topic when it applies to reborns. If not, I will go into what I immediately thought when I was thinking about this video. The first thing I thought about were the prototype contests. So, anyone who is an artist, or even just a collector who pays a lot of attention, you will notice that from time to time a sculptor will hold a contest. I'm putting these in quotes for a reason. A contest to see who will paint the prototypes for that kit, their new kit that comes out. So I say it's a contest because if you start to notice, over and over in these contests, the same people are winning. And a lot of times it's not even voting. There's not much voting that happens with these. It's usually the sculptor will end up picking someone that they like. And a lot of times, if you've noticed, these are people who always get prototypes. So it's the same people over and over and over who get picked for a lot of these contests for these prototype opportunities. Now, a lot of people will be like, well, it's because they're the best artists. And that's actually just not even true. They're not the best artists, some of these people who get picked over and over. They formulate these good relationships with the sculptor, and then they get picked because of that relationship. Or they just have a name brand that they've created for themselves, and they tend to get picked over and over because they have a quote-unquote big name in the Reborn world. And the prime example I can think of when I'm thinking of all of this nepotism, these false narratives around they're the best artist, the person I immediately always think about when I think of this topic is Sylvia. Sylvia Esquerda, I think is how you say her last name. Everyone knows Sylvia. Her dolls are everywhere. I mean, she does, I feel like, almost every single prototype. It really, and I wish I was kidding. It's like almost the vast majority of prototypes you'll see, she has a version that she did a prototype. Sylvia's dolls, I've seen them in person. They're okay. I have seen that the two doll shows that I've been on, just the two that I've been to, I've seen way more highly detailed work. Just unknown, relatively unknown artists. And so this is what I'm talking about. Just because they have a brand name like Sylvia, you say Sylvia, everyone knows Sylvia's dolls. Sylvia Creations is all you have to say typically for people to know what her work is. Just because they have this name, this big name, this doesn't mean they're the best. And so when we pick people for these opportunities based on their name alone, you're taking away the potential for someone else to who has maybe much better work, higher quality work, or is relatively nicer. Um, you're taking away their opportunity to make a good living or to grow their branding. So when we think about the long-term consequences of this, not only are we seeing a lack of diversity because we're seeing the same damn work over and over and over again in these prototypes, which makes it hard to visualize other versions or how different versions of that kit could look like. It limits the ability to view other people's high quality work. So when it comes to prototypes, that's what I immediately think of. I always think of Sylvia and how all of her work looks the damn same. I mean, let's just be honest, you guys. I get that usually artists will develop a style of painting, but even within that style of painting, I find that most artists are able to have variety of skin tones. She typically does the same skin tone over and over, so all the prototypes are just looking the same. And that, like I said, that makes it harder to visualize as an artist who wants to purchase that kit what it could look like. If you're not someone who's easily able to visualize what that could look like, it doesn't help having prototypes where it's all the same. So yeah, that's the first thing I thought of when I thought of this concept of reborn nepotism. And so the next one, this comes up all the time, and this is also why I go live and pick a winner. Giveaways. Oh my gosh, giveaways, giveaways, giveaways. Time and time again, I have witnessed where giveaways are rigged so that their friends or their family members will win whatever they're giving away. I don't even have to tell you guys why that's so wrong. But just think about how ridiculous that is. And it's almost half the time, it's like it's not even hidden. They simply just pick their best friend to win the quote unquote prize based on how they sketchily pick this. The most recent, I think, what was it that someone gave away? Oh gosh, I'm trying to think of the specific kit it was, but someone recently gave away a doll, and a bunch of people entered it, right? Yet, in conversations that were later leaked, you could see very clearly that this was not picked live and they had rigged it so their friend could win it. Disgusting. It's just not like, why even do that? Like, what's the point of holding and getting people's hopes up, getting people excited? What is the point of doing a giveaway if you're just going to pick your friend? Just give it to your friend. I've never understood this. Or even so, like the giveaways where it's always the same people entering it, or the details are very murky. Once again, if you're just going to directly give it to someone, rigging it that way anyway, just give it to them. I don't really get why this has become a thing, but it really has. That's just one recent example I could think of where this happened. But this has been going on for years, just like the issues with the prototypes looking all the same. That's been going on for years, and why it's so important that for me, transparency is key with giveaways. I will make it so clear that I pick a random person. Typically, like every single one of the giveaways I've done, I pick them live so that everyone can see that I'm not that person. I'm not gonna rig it just so I can give it to my best reborn friend. I don't think it's fair. This is the first layer of painted hairline that I'm doing. But yeah. So that's the second thing I immediately thought of when I was getting this video concept together. What else did I think of? The last main one that I personally thought of, and then I'm gonna get into some of the responses I got to the prompt, was the show contest. Like I said, there was a doll show in Greensboro, North Carolina last weekend, and so this is even more relevant. Um, these contests at a lot of these shows are picked by a panel of judges that are associated with um, the doll show. This isn't always the case. I'm not sure what the actual voting looked like at Dolls of the World Expo in Greensboro last weekend. I think Dolls of the World does it the correct way where they have people vote. But there's flaws in that too. But in other doll shows that I know of, they do it where it's a panel of people associated with the doll show, putting on the doll show, hosting the doll show. The problem with that is they oftentimes formulate relationships with their vendors and they already know whose work is whose. So by voting in that way, they can just vote for whoever vendor or whoever artist they like the most. Like it may not even be the best in that category, but they know that it's like Sylvia's work. So they vote for her because they want her to win the prize because they have a good working relationship with her and they want to make her happy and give her a trophy. So it can be rigged that way, or it can be rigged on the other way where if the people attending the show are voting, if you're familiar with whose work is what work looks like what, because you're at the show already and these artists have booths, it's real simple. By process of elimination you can tell whose entry is whose. So I think the problem here is with these contests is there's not really a good clean way to host a true contest where you're picking the best silicone or the best this, because you can there's just such a simple way to pick who you like. And I don't know if there's a solution to that. I really don't know if there's a good way to anonymously pick your favorite work at one of these doll show contests. So, like for example, I think I saw someone's work who won best of category in the mini sculpting from the Dolls of World Expo, and I was like, that was number one, because I saw second place, and I was like, okay. So I don't know. I don't, like I said, I don't know how they do their voting. But even to me, that, I mean, it's like, are you sure? Because I'm not even thinking opinion based. I'm thinking of technical skill base. Like one clearly looked more realistic than the other, and isn't that the point of being the best in the sculpting category? Is realism, I would think. But so that's an example of, I think, where I think they knew who they voted as number one. I think whoever was making the vote and decision knew who number one is. Not to mention, it's just, for me, it all goes back to transparency. Are you tabulating the votes in person while the people are participating are there? How are you counting the votes, etc., etc.? I think a lot of the things that I'm talking about could be improved maybe by transparency. Like, how do these sculptors pick the prototype artist that they choose? You know, I don't think anyone has questioned that. And that's like I said, the problem. Is it just like I said, they just know this person already, have a relationship with that artist already, and okay, yeah, I know you've done a million prototypes. I know you've done a million for me alone. Why not do another one? But it really is harmful. Like I said, it stifles the creativity of the community when you have the same damn prototype artist. So if anything, I would love, 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 love to see more diversity. And that doesn't even just mean like more black dolls, for example, which is a big thing that we just need more diversity. We really, really do. And that means more artistic styles as well. Like why are we seeing the same pink doll every single prototype? Is my I guess my problem. Like, oh gosh, what sculpt was it where they released the prototypes and all of them looked the same? I was like, all of them, quote unquote, were different artists, but they were all painted in the same style, same skin tone, same hair color. And I was like, literally, what was the point? Like, you could have just had one of the artists do it and been like, yep, that's that version. I think it was one of the toddler sculpts recently. I think it was one of Ping Lao's toddler sculpts that looked like all of them were the same, and I was just like, what was the point? She's not a sculptor that typically has that problem though. She's a example of what I would think is a good sculptor who chooses prototypes wisely and to create that diversity that I'm craving so bad. So I don't think she that was just, I think, a one off thing that she didn't realize all of them were going to paint it pretty much the same way. So she's not one, but Laura Lee Eels is one that does a lot of her prototypes. You will not see like a version of color of her prototypes, for example. Like, she will put out sculpts and sculpts and sculpts, and sometimes you will never even see a doll of color being offered as a prototype version. So that's an example of one where there's improvement needed. And I think in past, this has come up and they tried to defend themselves and say that it's because it takes longer to paint these dolls a color. Maybe you should work on your releasing time schedule better. Then I don't understand the problem, because we have so many talented artists who do dolls of color who have quicker or the same amount of turnaround times as an artist that does only white skin tones. So that, I don't buy that excuse, but that's a side note. So yeah, anyway, getting to the responses to this prompt. The first one, ooh, that's a good one. The first response, someone said that they, when they think of Reborn nepotism, they think about increasing prices based on the value of a name and not the skill level. So that, again, goes back to kind of what I was talking about, Sylvia's work in person. It's okay, versus the prices that she charges. And these prices can get really, really out of hand, not just for her, but some of these prototype level artists. Like, why are you charging? I mean, I get your work is beautiful, but let's be real. Why are you charging $4,000 for a vinyl doll? I know you didn't spend that amount of time on it. And so, you know what I mean? Like, it goes about, people can say all they want until they're blue in the face that they can price their dolls at whatever they want. But that's not true, because it's a market-based business. People are going to start waking up and realizing and comparing your level of work for the price you're charging versus other people's level of work versus the price that they're charging. And they're going to realize that what you're charging is because you have a well-known name and not because of the actual quality of your work. So that's a great point. That is a great example of how this concept can get further into even the pricing of how dolls are offered based on the name. Someone else said the same thing I said, prototype artists being the same 3 to 5 people. It's nice to see some sculptors branching out. It's always frustrating when no one else has the opportunity. Agreed. Retweet on that one. Someone said that they think about a certain group of people that always get first dibs on the hottest dolls. Yes. So I see this all the time. Whereas the same few collectors that will grab up a doll that becomes available, and it's a beautiful, beautiful doll, and you would love to, like, certain people have the money, the means to buy the doll, but they don't even get a chance to purchase because they have told their friend already that they're going to be selling a doll from their collection, for example. Or in the case of an artist, they already have been chatting people that they know that are their friends that they're going to be listing a doll soon. And so other people who have the means don't even get a chance to even try to purchase the doll because it's already sold, which is great for the artist, but sucks for collectors, man. It really, really sucks, and it really is heartbreaking when a doll you have been watching the artist work on already gets claimed by a friend or someone that they have sold to over and over and over and over again and already own a million pieces of their work. It really is disheartening. So that is definitely a good example of reborn nepotism right there. Someone else said elitism, microaggressions, and tone deaf comes to mind when they think of reborn nepotism, and I definitely agree with that. I don't have much comment there because it's, yeah, for sure, tone deaf is definitely one way to put some of the stuff that happens. Repetition, stagnation, I think we definitely covered that one a lot because that, speaking of repetition, yeah, for sure, I 100% agree, obviously. It really, like I said, all we need is people to start being aware of this so that we can have demands for more varied work. It all starts with being aware. And that's why I make these videos. That's why I'm not like a role playing channel and never really will be. Because I just don't find that like conductive when you're trying to, if you want and love a community, you want to see it in its best light. You want to see it be as good as it can be. And right now, with the way that things are, I don't think it. We have deteriorated so much as a community. I mean, you guys see that all the time. Everything from people who are trying to argue that it's okay to have knockoff dolls, you know, which are literally illegal. By the way, it's illegal to own them, let alone purchase them. We have people arguing that, like that, the basics, how that's not wrong. So we're split as a community over so many topics, and we can't get better, and if people stop talking about them, if everyone wants to just enjoy their dolls, I don't know how you live like that. Just I just want to enjoy my dolls. I hear that all the time when I bring up these conversations, especially about racism, especially about knockoffs, especially stuff like this. I hear this all the time where people just want to enjoy their dolls and escape from the world. But that's such a privileged mind frame, because I can't afford to just sit and enjoy my dolls when people are literally destroying the sculptor's lifestyle. Like, by purchasing knockoffs, for example, you're literally stealing and destroying their livelihood. You're taking money directly from these artists and giving them to some Chinese company, usually, that sells them for dirt cheap and treats people who knows how those factories look. I mean, and plus, not to mention what's in them. So I don't understand how you can afford to enjoy these dolls but ignore the blaring problems that are going on. I'm black. I obviously can't afford to ignore when sculptors are being racist. I mean, when artists and sculptors are being racist, I can't afford to just enjoy my dolls and give money to a racist person. So, it's like I said, it is, I know people are afraid of that word, privilege, but it really is a privilege to ignore these type of situations, to ignore these ongoings in the community that may not be so kumbaya and pretty. It is so easy to just want to live in, put your head in the sand and ignore the problems, because there is so much going on in greater society that you want a place to feel like you can retreat. But like I said, I don't have that. I can't do that. I'm in it. I have to say something if I see something. But yeah, that's what I've gathered. That was the responses that I got on this topic. If you guys have any, thoughts on this, anything like that, obviously my comments are always open. I don't turn off my comments. I don't delete comments. YouTube, on the other hand, might delete comments if you say something out like that. The bots think you're saying something horrible. They tend to flag those comments and delete them. But I don't ever delete comments, even hateful comments. I leave them alone, because if you want to be hateful and you don't understand what I'm talking about, you don't understand the concepts that I'm referring to, that's not me. I'm not gonna delete your comment and police your dumb comment. or your ignorant, I should say ignorant comment, because a lot of times it's just coming from a place of not understanding or having the ability to understand. So not dumb, but really true, just truly ignorant comments. I don't delete those because, that's, you got to hold yourself accountable. If you go back and you start to regret those comments, I'm not deleting them for you. Because it's important to hold yourself accountable and grow from those type of misunderstandings. I find, like, I keep my videos up where maybe my opinion has changed or my perspective has changed because, that's just life. That's growing up on social media. That's growing up being a public figure to an extent. Like, I put myself out there in my opinions. So, a lot of times, my opinions have, as I've grown and gotten older, as everyone, you learn new things and you see more of the world, and you can see real harm versus like someone just role playing with their doll, which is to me still a little cringy, but most of the time it doesn't hurt anyone, So, anyway, that being said, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I've got other videos ideas that I am working on. It's just I've been waiting for my master's program to be finished, which will be in August, so that I could really focus on other things. And one of that is getting back to posting on this channel as much as I can. So, all right, you guys, I will see you guys in the next video, and keep a lookout for these dolls to be available shortly. All right, bye, you guys.